Hey everyone, I'm back with some more modern action. Today I'm going to be playing a black-red mid-range deck, kind of like Jun, just with no green. And the things that I think you gain from playing this deck are a better mana base, first of all. And second of all, you don't really lose much except for a big brick wall in the form of Tarmogoyf. And then, some basically unconditional removal in the form of Abrupt Decay. It's not, super unconditional or whatever, like, anything CMC 4 or higher gets around it, but this deck has basically no way to beat an enchantment outside of making them discard it or just beating them. So those are the two issues, but I think we gain enough that at least this is worth exploring. So this deck has a lot of similarities to Jun. You have like the discard spells, Inquisitions and Thoughtseizes, Liliana the Veil, Dark Confidant, and then instead of Tarmogoyf you have Pack Rat, which is going to be better in some matchups I imagine and worse in some others. So against something like Birthing Pod, I think the Pack Rats are going to be really good, but in the mirrors, it could be hit or miss. Like if you get to 5 mana and you get to play a Pack Rat, that's probably going to be pretty good, but this thing keeps popping up whenever I play version 4. But getting to 5 mana and being able to sandbag that Pack Rat for so long in the mirror match is probably not very realistic. But we're going to see how this plays out. I'm very interested. And then, other than that, some removal spells, Lightning Bolt, Terminate, Slaughter Pact. This deck also has Relic of Progenitus as additional graveyard hate, hate against Snapcaster Mage, and it lets Lightning Bolt kill a Tarmogoyf, which I really like. And this deck doesn't really use the graveyard, so it can play something like Relic, unlike the Jun decks that have Tarmogoyf, where Relic just kind of neuters your own thing, so you have to look for something else. And then I have a Miser's Grim Lavamancer and Olivia Voldaren for creatures, and these are both things that Andy Boswell played in his list that he got second, albeit in his Jun deck. And then for 3 drops, I have 2 Prophetic Flame Speakers and a Vampire Nighthawk, and those are basically like the Courser of Crufix type of things, where I have one thing that gains me life and is pretty good against beatdown decks, and then Flame Speaker I think is just a powerful card and I want to play more with it. So the Flame Speakers could also be Rabble Masters, and I know that a lot of people have been trying the Rabble Masters in decks like this, which are basically just like a pile of removal and disruption, and then you just have this one creature that can win the game on its own. And I think Flame Speaker is basically like that, but maybe like blocks a little bit better and gets through a little easier, so we'll see how that works out. And then I have a Sword of Light and Shadow. I feel like this deck just wants some life gain, and Sword is a pretty good way to do that. Maybe this is the wrong one. Maybe it should be War and Peace. Could also see arguments for like Fire and Ice or Feast and Famine. Like all of the swords are pretty good if you are going to play 1 or 2. But like I said, I want the life gain, and having a Sword of Flame Speaker is obviously like pretty powerful. I don't think that that's like necessary. That's kind of like a win more thing, but Sword just gives you the buffer to where they can't like peel a Lightning Bolt to get you or whatever. And then I also have a 1 of Chandra Pyromaster, basically because the card is sweet and it's good against control decks and opposing Dark Confidants and such. So for the mana base, it's basically just like a pile of black-red duels. I have some Lava Claw Reaches as my Treetop Village. Oh man, if this thing keeps popping up, this is going to be really annoying. No, don't show this message again. I'll click that. And then we have some Mutavaults, which are kind of like the tectonic edges that the black-green decks play, but Mutavault works really well with Pack Rat and gives you 6 total man lands. And the initial list that I'm going off of had 3 Reaches, but it seemed a little slow, and I'm not sure like how much I actually wanted to draw Lava Claw Reaches, so only have 2 of that. I added some Blackleaf Cliffs that he did not have initially, which seemed kind of like an oversight. He had more Dragon Skull Summits, but I think Blackleaf Cliffs for the most part is superior, so I went with those, even though past turn 3 these can end up being pretty bad. Other than that, some fetches. Bloodstained Mire would obviously be a huge help here. I have 4 basic swamps to combo with the sideboard card that I have, and then the only other thing that I could play in the mana base was an Urborg, but I wanted a basic swamp. But I can certainly foresee some instances where like having 2 Mutavaults or even just like having a single Mutavault is going to hinder the amount of spells that you get to play. So moving on to the sideboard, I think the big reason to cut a color in this case green, is to play 4 Blood Moons, and seems pretty powerful. Seems like a really good card against a lot of your bad matchups. The only regret I have is that these are white bordered and not from Modern Masters, because they're kind of ugly, but that's alright. And then a couple more Nighthawks, some Affinity Hate in Vandal Blast, Shatterstorm, and Rakdos Charm. And Rakdos Charm also doubles as additional graveyard hate against something like Storm, and is good against Splinter Twin if they are comboing you, but I feel like for the most part I'm not going to be leaving in too many Rakdos Charms, or boarding in too many Rakdos Charms against them, just because they go on like this tempo-y beatdown plan after sideboard, which granted I think is the better plan for them. It just means that my Rakdos Charms are probably not going to be super effective, which I'm also fine with. And then I have another Chandra for slower matchups, another Olivia for creature matchups, another Relic for more graveyard hate, and then some Lightnings, which are kind of like the catch-all. And one of the good things about decks like this is that they have a lot of versatile sideboard cards. So there are things like Blightning, which are just good against like basically any combo deck. They're pretty good against Burn. They're good against mid-range mirrors. Basically just a general good card where if the matchup is a little bit slower, you can afford to just bring that in. And just covers like a lot of your bases with just a couple slots. And a lot of the cards try and perform similar roles. Like Olivia is good against a lot of stuff, Relic's good against a lot of stuff, Rakdos Charm is good against a decent amount of stuff, but not a lot. And then Blood Moon is there for your bad matchups. So overall, I like the sideboard. I feel like this captures like the essence of Jund as far as like what it's trying to do with its sideboard, and make sure that you have enough things to bring in against every matchup, so that if you're playing something like a mirror match and you don't want to keep in a bunch of discard, you have a bunch of options. So I am looking forward to playing with this deck. I think it's going to be pretty good, but we'll find out. My record as a whole has not been super great on these videos, so we're going to try and break that.